Okay, so I'm being guided to explain how exactly I met Oliver and why exactly we would not be friends had I not been drunk. I need to apologize again in advance. This may be cut into multiple videos. So essentially, John and I had separated, but we're still living together in July of 2017. In September 2017, I went with some friends that I had met at a concert. Heather and Mike, I had met them at a Baroness concert in Philadelphia. They had invited me to see Baroness play Beer Fest in Pittsburgh. So I went with them. I was really excited because it was essentially like I was having the opportunity to celebrate, escaping John, which I had been trying to do for a while. Now, again, I very seldom drink. I mean, I don't anymore, but even, John had quit, I don't drink. But it was a beer fest, so it was just like, okay, well, I used my drink tickets. I had gotten drunk. Prior to Baroness going on, I remember being in this, the crowded area, the back room, and Heather and Mike seeing this very tall person wearing a black metal Bernie Sanders t-shirt. And that's how we met Oliver. That was it. And we all walked up front together because, Heather and Mike were talking to Oliver. And I think I batted my eyes and stuff. I was really drunk. And I just simply remember us standing, at the stage and Oliver asking if he could kiss me. And that was it. I am not... Personally, having still been living with John, I would not have... what happened, that would not have happened had I been sober. This is not meant to be offensive in any way. It's simply that my decision-making skills were very much impaired that night, and I would not have... It's not meant to be offensive. It's just when it comes to how I handle myself, I have always been more conservative because I was never allowed to not be. And so, this is not how I view other people. Other people do whatever they want to do. I'm not ever going to judge you. It's simply that for myself, I am, I'm not someone who goes out. Emily, when I moved into my house, Emily told me she was having issues with her sex addiction and sleeping with all these random strangers. And I think my response was that there's nothing wrong with that. I didn't understand at the time that, exactly to the extent that it was, and she and I haven't since spoken about it, but that's not ever something I would myself be in a situation. Not because it's... I am phrasing this wrong, and I apologize. I'm having a very hard time figuring out exactly how to phrase what I want to say. I sincerely apologize. It's not... Because at no point I'm not trying to be judgmental. I'm simply... I've always been that kind of person that I would more likely be home because when I go out in public for things that are not work, I'm almost always assaulted or harassed by a random person. And it's just I'm not going... I don't like being ogled like a piece of meat. I would rather just spend the time by myself with my dog and my cat than even bother. I need that emotional, intellectual connection. I am not just... Anyway, and again, I apologize. I'm having what I meant to say, it is not what I said. So I sincerely apologize. Please do not, and I've tried to explain this before, especially to Jess when Jess was living with John and I, or in John's condo. John had been attacking me whenever I would try to communicate, because I know I have issues with communicating. And when I would express, say I'm so specifically because I wasn't allowed to learn the words. Words have so many different it's just and I had said something to Jess, and Jess would start attacking me, and you're lying, you know exactly what you're doing. It's no, I'm well aware of the fact that I have communication issues, because anytime I've tried to communicate with John, I've been attacked and told that I'm wrong. So, I'm not even allowed to learn the words to express what it is that I mean. I'm sorry. So, anyway, I apologize. I didn't mean to. Okay. So, essentially, the relation, I'm not a heavy texter. I'm not. And Oliver, every 30 seconds text messages, love bombing to the point where I could barely function. And I had been messaging Mauve at the time because I kept telling her, I don't have social skills. I don't know how to interact with this person. And her response was simply, just be yourself. Just be yourself. IQ doesn't, and for whatever reason, she kept saying IQ has nothing to do with intelligence. At no point did I mention anything about IQ or intelligence. It was just, for whatever reason, that was where she went with it. And it's just no, Mauve, that's not what I'm saying. I just don't know how to communicate because of the abuse with John. I could not handle it. And it was when I met Oliver, it wasn't that it was a connection. It was that he became obsessed with me to a certain degree. And I'm saying this because I remember the way he looked at me. It was not, I was not someone he was interested in learning about. I was there for him to look at. I was it was that piece of meat thing. That is not me. And I didn't know this, because I have only ever been in monogamous relationships. I've never met anybody who had been in an open relationship. And that's what he had just started dating Rachel at that point in time. And, we had exchanged numbers, and I didn't know he was dating Rachel. And, when I texted him, he was like, oh, I didn't expect to hang out so soon. I'm in an open relationship. And I was just okay. And again, very near catatonic because of what I was going through with John. So I went to New York, and again, that was, when he asked me, oh, what brings you, how long have you been into BDSM? And my response was essentially no, this is my first time. If you were expecting, if this is not a date, if you had been expecting something else, he should have told me. I didn't say that. I was nearly catatonic. He knew about my PTSD. All I could literally do was hug him. I had no ability to do anything else at that point. And it was simply I'm not the person that he thinks I am. I don't know where he was able to, where he got the information thinking that I was pampered and waited on hand and foot while I was disabled. I'm not, that's not me. Why would you think that? And I was very off-put by him. And it's not meant to be offensive. He's kind of snobby. And I'm sharing this because yesterday, after, sending you the message, I got home and I thought about the message I sent, and one of this, there was an angry spirit and just screamed at me, lay off him. And it's just no, I don't know what was going on in his life. I don't know anything about him and anything about his ex in that situation. That I will lay off of. All I can say is what my personal experience, and that it was very toxic. He was not in a healthy place. I would not, again, he and I, we would not be friends. This is not we would be friendly with each other, but we would not be friends. We would not run in the same circles. We might go to the same concerts, but this is not it's not meant to be offensive. It's simply there's nothing in common. I'm not into BDSM. I'm not into the things that he's into. I found it highly offensive when he made a Mauschwitz comment about his friend. And not only that, but me explaining to him my having one of the rarest medical conditions, and him bragging about all of his friends in medical and in science, and then yet not connecting. I'm struggling time finding doctors that are willing to listen, but your friends are all in the anyway, and he is a very fake. And the reason I'm saying that is because of the fact that when he and I first met, he would make these comments about, snobby rich people, blah, blah, blah. And then almost like the longer he was engaged, the more he himself became this snobby rich person. And it's not meant to be offensive. Again, I'm not going to criticize anyone and how they behave in their thoughts. It's simply that it was that hypocriticalness, if that makes sense. Because I had ended up going to Katie's sister's wedding as a seat filler, and there were photos that were posted on my Instagram, so you were able to see the wedding. And when he and Rachel were looking for wedding venues, I had actually said that was Staten Island, and I was like, oh, well, that was nice. That was at a hotel. It was beautiful. And his response was, well, we don't want a cheap wedding. And just like, excuse me, why the fuck do you think that was cheap? I don't know how much they spent, but I'm pretty sure it was close to 6 figures. Like, why do you think that was cheap? Is it simply because there was purple lighting? Like, I don't understand. What fucking snobby fucking comment is that? Sorry, this is, like, just very frustrating, because it's almost like I have been forced to my entire life allow people in my life that I wouldn't have in my life. Not because they're bad people, but because I should have been allowed to develop the skills necessary to discern who I actually want in my life and who is using me or who is taking advantage of me. And those were skills that I was not ever allowed to learn or develop, if that makes sense. And had I been able to recognize situationally, again, he and I, we would not have met. And this is not meant to be offensive. I'm not meant to criticize him. Live your life and do what it is that you want. But it would have never. And it was almost like after a while I felt obligated, like I had no choice but to message him. And he knew I was very vulnerable, and even he was the one who kept begging me to post were in progress shots of my paintings, but not. It was something that I had been working on doing for myself. But when he said he didn't want me to do it he wanted me to do it for him, because he wanted me to post progress. And so maybe that's why he thought my Instagram posts were about him. They were not. They were never about him. There are posts about, they didn't say Antoine's name, but my intuition was telling me to post certain things, and I had made them about the man that I loved. Now, Antoine and I had been over for quite some time at that point. It was simply we'd been posting notes that I was reflecting. And for whatever reason, Oliver thought the posts were about him. Why would you think those posts were about you? And this is what I mean by he and I would never have been friends. That is a very selfish thing. Like, why? Sorry, this is already 13 minutes long. I'm going to have to break it into 7 videos. But I think you understand what I'm getting at. And I do apologize that I'm not able to communicate exactly what it is that I mean right now. And I am very sorry, but I think that to a degree I am been able to express a bit. So thank you for your time. I'm going to do everything I can not to send any more videos. I just think it's very important to understand that I would not have ever met, this is, again, not meant to be offensive. This is simply as an adult trying to assert myself, put up boundaries, and learn social skills and stuff. We would not have met had alcohol not been involved. And this is another reason very few people have ever seen me on cannabis, had ever seen me on cannabis prior to my moving into this property. And it's because I don't like being not sober. I have, for almost the entirety of my life, I've done everything possible to stay as sober as possible because of, I don't like to be in a position where I'm vulnerable or easily taken advantage of, because of the fact that I know when it comes to fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, I am freeze and fawn. And quite often when I've been in a position where someone has physically been attacking me or been physically able to overpower me, I lose all of my strength. My entire body shuts down. I have no way to fight back. I know these things about myself. I need to be able to assert. Once I'm able to recognize the situation, I should be able to put up boundaries and say, wait a second, I finally recognize this. I realize, no. Anyway. anyway, thank you for your time. I hope you have a great day. Again, I apologize for the fact that there are going to be like 7 videos of this. Thank you so much.